NPP for Ayomadrin say Omoma NDC for Asum Enjuoma NDC and so Ajiatum say Omobe expose NPP anytime, any day, any seconds. Abusia and the deputy minister of roads and highways waba ababe say baby or the NPP for atoto omo level. Now a year sourcing contract here NPP for ebe make press conference or say NPP for sourcing contractor or more the person or more false scandal on NDC no abusia enya no kre. Now we ena or share expose na say or kase NPP year of rules contract no abusia contract na omo de memma contractors no omo nhwe book mo kra ye tam contract na na de amount say woje koye Accra road woje koye ekwan wi omo de contract na memma rough on unauthorized contract illegal way and omo de man for na busuya contract bebrebe omo anhwe books mu omo anhwe document mu farmer contractors ni na omo sorry na omo apagya contract no na omo de amawi omo sorry na omo apagya contract na omo de amawi 60 billion arrears eka NPP for beja go ho no 60 billion ama sisi ano NDC aban President Mahama ene ato forcing omo ahase etu asa aka intima amomo ye sei no mo sanso ka se NDC ye so sourcing contract on a big push agenda no abusuya inti ene waba ababe expose NPP on their illegal way unauthorized way contract omo de mama for contract no mo tam biala ye oje omo cheche contract ne se ase enye sika na edi tu ya no omo tam contract na cheche nso a sika na eche se omo be ka kire o man se eno na omo de sika no nso a sika no omo eti aso 60 billion abuzua mo me enko na yenko nkotie ensema ekoso ewo de key point on TV3 credit goes to TV3 abada say mo me enko na yenko nkotie deputy Minister of Roads and Highway. Momi yankona yankonkuti our silence NPP for enye asem keto akra.
I don't think that it is fair for my friend and brother Ejapa Mensah to describe the opinions of lawyer Martin as uncivilized. I mean, to say that it's uncivilized, exactly. I think that
that's why they lost. It's no problem. That's why they lost.
Yes, okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Let's now keep focused.
Right.
Thank you. Now, there's a reason why we got you in here, and it's for good reason, for that matter, because of some of the issues that have come with this big push. But before we start going into the meat of the decision about sole sourcing and so on, where are we with the big push agenda? This all of these projects that you outlined, where are we with, just generally?
Well, thank you very much once again, Okansi, and good morning to my colleagues on the panel. And I must say that Lawyer Pebu is looking very sharp.
Absolutely.
I like the outfit this morning. And let me say good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. And Alfred, I can say that as we speak, all these projects are at various levels of completion. There is no project that has been awarded under the big push that currently is not being pushed bigly. Almost all the contractors are on site and are at various stages of works. I know the last time, I think a couple of weeks ago, we at the ministry invited the contractors to give us an update. In fact, these are not projects that are awarded and, left until when we are expecting contractors to finish work before we go to inspect. So we invited them to give us an update of progress of work. And they came around, and the contractor at the time, a couple of weeks ago, that was leading in terms of works done, had already reached about 50% of completion. And for us, that is very impressive. And we encourage those contractors who were in our view, per their presentation, performing very well, to continue with those good works. Those that we had issues with, we even threatened at the time to terminate some of those projects. And we wrote letters, warning letters, to those that were not impressed with as far as the progress of work was concerned. And so these are contracts or projects that His Excellency the President is not toying with. And contractors who are, fortunate enough to be part of this agenda are fully aware that this government means business. And because there are no qualms about, terminating these projects, we are not toying with quality, we are not toying with pace. And we have the assurance also that the finance minister will do good and honor the promise of paying these works on time. And so many contractors, I'll tell you, haven't seen the level of supervision that they are seeing now over these projects. Quite apart from the presentation in the office, we also outlined a plan to go to the field. So we're not just going to take their word for it. And so we started the field tour, and then we got word that His Excellency the President himself wanted to be part of it. And that is how
going to the field.
Exactly. That is how come we paused ours and began the tour with him in the Brong-Ahafo region only recently when he went there. So he himself has indicated that he wants to be on the field with us to see for himself how the contractors are performing.
When you announced that you're not going to be paying mobilization, some of the contractors that we spoke to raised issues with that. Are you still sticking with that decision, not to pay mobilization?
Well, there has been some arrangement, but you see, it was for good reason that we, at the point, decided that mobilization was not necessary, and we will come to that. Alfred, in selecting some of these contractors, we were mindful of the debt that we owed them. Because when we inherited governance, we inherited it with assets and liabilities. And at the road sector, we had an over 50 billion, arrears that we inherited. And so we were looking at the contractors who were owed and why they were owed. And we found out that some of these contractors had actually carried out very impressive works in the country, but were not paid. Their capacity was not in doubt. Their quality of work was not in doubt. And their inability to move to site was simply because, they were not paid. In fact, some of them were already on projects that had come to a standstill because of lack of payment.
I see.
And so we decided that if we wanted them to be on big push and we committed to paying them the arrears, then there was really no need giving them mobilization because it is resources that they wanted to go to site. So if, for example, a contractor is owed 1 billion Ghana cedis and the contractor has an ongoing project or not, doesn't even have an ongoing project.
Yes.
And you want such a contractor to do a big push project. What is the sense in leaving the arrears of 1 billion and giving the contractor 500 million mobilization?
Okay.
When the debt is still in your books, why don't you rather pay maybe the 1 billion and then, urge the contractor to mobilize to start to work and start work so that when he raises a certificate, you will pay within time so that it will no longer be an arrest.
But
so
how much in total value did you inherit in terms of the inherited contracts from the previous administration? How much? Do you have
in terms of, well, for example, I know that we had a commitment basis of about 100 billion Ghana cedis.
100 billion
100 billion,
cedis.
over 100 billion Ghana cedis, commitment basis. Then we had over about 60 billion Ghana cedis of arrears. That is arrears that, came as a result of works done. So IPCs that were, waiting for payment. That was about 60 billion. But commitment, like the contracts that, they were distributing contracts like Massa. They were just simply, signing contracts and giving people projects without, any plan as to how to pay those contracts.
So what's happening to this? Have you made payments? This 60 billion cedis you talk about?
Exactly. I mean, the finance minister, together with His Excellency the President, has facilitated for over 10 billion of the arrears that we inherited to be paid last year alone. And that is the single biggest arrears that any government in the history of this country has ever paid to contractors in this country. You can imagine inheriting arrears of about 50 billion, and within 1 year, you have paid more than 10 billion of that. It has actually, energized the industry and given a lot of confidence to contractors in the industry that we indeed mean business when we say that when they execute works, we will not allow payments to delay.
This 13.9 billion that you allocated in the 2025 budget, how much of that has been expended?
I didn't get that.
This 13.9 billion, that's what you announced in the 2025, the mid-year at least.
Right.
How much of that has been expended? How much of that have you paid contractors from? How much is left going into this year?
Well, so what it is that the big push projects were captured under a different budgetary arrangement with the finance minister. So if you have 13.9 billion, what it means is that that was a space within which the ministry had to award projects. And those projects were awarded. And the commitment we gave was that if contractors raised certificates within that period, they were going to be paid from this 13.5 billion, 9 billion that we were expecting from the revenues that the finance minister projected. Now, unfortunately, what happened was that because of the, I would say, delay in awarding the contracts, many of these contractors by end of 2025 were not able to raise any certificate that, the finance minister could pay. And it is the reason why the finance minister then decided that once they had not mobilized enough and worked enough to raise certificates, then it became reasonable to now give them mobilization. And that mobilization had to be supported with a bank guarantee from these contractors so that we could redeem it, because the funds were available. And once the funds are available and it cannot be used for anything else because Parliament has said so, apart from big push, then it became reasonable to now go into an arrangement with the contractors to give them mobilization, and that is being worked on.
I see. I needed that clarity because of some other matters as well that we're going to be getting into. But from what we are seeing now, based on the funding source that you have indicated for all of these road projects, mineral royalties, ABFA, Government of Ghana. With what we are seeing on the world market, with gold prices now going down, even though there's been clear projection that the price of gold would rise, all things being equal, going into the next quarter, 2026. What's the fallback plan if the projections don't go right with the mineral royalties?
Well, unfortunately, Alfred, and maybe I should be happy with that. That is not my cross to carry at the Ministry of Roads. It is the finance minister's responsibility to ensure that funds are readily available for these projects. And so I'm sure as we speak, he's already doing the simulations and looking at possible shortfalls and how those shortfalls can be supported with alternative means of funding these projects. I mean, from all indications, we can all agree that so far he has demonstrated a clear understanding of how this economy works. And I will not be surprised if he has already done simulations and has answers to the question you are asking. But because I am not a finance person, I will not be able to tell what the fallback plan is, assuming these revenues that are expected are not met. But I am very confident that Honorable Akufo and his team will be looking already at some of these fears that we all have as a result of the plummeting of gold prices and increase in fuel prices.
I see. Now, let me acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Kwame Edem Senanu, is a chairperson of the African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption. Congratulations is in order, even though this is not new in a sense, but also the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Mr. Senanu, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, too.
Senor Hosi is, first of all, as says, a passionate Ghanaian, number one, a finance person who has passion for understanding what governance really means and what it should mean to the Ghanaian people. He is also one of the conveners for the One Ghana movement. And for the purpose of this conversation, he served in the capacity of a board member of the Ghana Highways Authority in the previous AkuffoAddo administration. So it's important to have. Ms. Ozzy, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
It's been a while indeed.
So those who have been saying you don't see me today, you can see me. I didn't go anywhere else.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
It's good to see my president too. Mr. President, this is your new hat. We have to interrogate it. You have left me behind. Is that your life?
It's a change because yours is nicer, so I've left that category to come.
You said it's a change, so this is part of your reset agenda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. Now, I realized you were putting down a few things before we get into the matters of sole sourcing and what the Fourth Estate put out. Quickly, if you want
to.
Yes.
Good morning to my colleague panelists and to our cherished viewers. You see, Hassan, it's important that when we are speaking to matters of public record, at least we are candid and not exaggerate figures. Okay, because there's publicly available. You say that commitments, then in the road sector and debt, 100 billion commitment, debt 50 billion that you inherited. Clearly is untrue. Because, look, there's publicly available information that the finance minister himself, in his own budget, that the commitments that you inherited across central government, not only in the road sector, was 67 billion that they've been auditing. In fact, the president himself is on record. City GHTV unpaid bills for contractors in the road sector as of December 2024 stood at 20 billion. So where is this 50 billion from? Where is it coming from? Please, let's be true with the figures so that we can situate the conversation in their proper context. That would be my comment on all the things that he said relating to the progress of work.
You see, we have two different areas. Okay. There's the road fund areas and there's the GOG areas. Right. And I'll break it down. I'm looking for the exact figures and I'll share with you.
Please.
Perfect. Now, when we get that, when you're able to access that, then we'll get into the full details of it because it's important so that we understand. Because we're talking about these projects, the 23 projects that you inherited, that you say that regardless of when it was awarded, you're still going to go ahead with it because it is for the greater good. Yeah. It is to benefit the Ghanaian people. So you're adopting this and continuing to execute and complete these projects that the SWAL administration awarded to contractors. And you're going to start 54 new road projects. Yeah. Now, these 54 new road projects, while you look for this this document that you're asking for, have you found it?
Not yet.
Okay, perfect. These 54 new projects that we talk about, do you have an idea? Are you able to give us an indication of how many of them have been started or awarded, for that matter, and currently being executed?
All have been awarded.
All 54?
All 54 new road projects have been awarded. And contractors are on site. That is what I said earlier, and they are at various stages of completion. Now, you know, when I saw the Fourth Estate publication the first time, I was eagerly awaiting to find out what the scandal was going to be.
Yes, because they had first put out some preliminary information and so on.
They kind of advertise a scandal.
But really, the heart of their publications about value for money. Well, they talk about some 107 projects, or that's contracts, that they requested information and you give them. Because that's the source of the money. You give them the information, right? The ministry. 107 projects. Out of that, as many as 81 were awarded through sole sourcing. How do you explain this?
So you see, they advertise a scandal. And we're waiting for the scandal because they wrote to us and requested information regarding these contracts. And we promptly responded without any qualms at all, as the law, requires us to. And even before that, we had started uploading these contracts and information on our website. And so we really didn't think that there was a need for anybody to even write to us in the first place for it, because once it's on our website, it's public property. And we are under no obligation whatsoever at our ministry to upload such information. But just for the sake of transparency and accountability, we decided to upload the information. And so we were anticipating what the scandal was going to be. Then, Alfred, my first disappointment was that the first publication suggested, as if to say, that if you criticize something in the past and you were seen doing it, that in itself is scandalous. With all due respect, I beg to differ, even if that were the case. At best, you can say it's double standards. You can say it's hypocrisy. But you cannot say it amounts to a corruption scandal. I mean, that in itself is not enough. Like, okay, I said A was not good, and then I am doing A. Does A amount to corruption scandal? I mean, the mere fact that, assuming that is what the case was, in my view, I was like, wait a minute. I mean, assuming we even said in opposition that sole sourcing was bad and it wasn't good, and then we are doing it, is that a corruption scandal? That in itself, for me, is not enough to conclude that there is a corruption scandal. But is that even the case, Alfred? It is not. Because in opposition, what we said about sole sourcing, we still stand by it. We said that sole sourcing was wantonly being used, and sole sourcing, when it is used in that manner, has the ability to lead to inflated contracts, which does not only contribute to corruption, but also affects even the quality of work that, the people get. We still stand by that. So if you are going to do a comparison between the then and now, even within the context of what one said before and what one is doing now, I'll expect that you do that analysis contextually. But if you engage in an out of context, comparison, you will get your facts wrong.
So what you say is out of context, because they reference the political position that you took about sole sourcing, not so much about the policy position per se, and some of the comments that your colleagues in the NDC made regarding sole sourcing. They captured Sami Jemfi and Samuel Okujeto.
So that is
and this one, right? And this one, the page 6 of your 2024 manifesto says, quote, enforce compliance with the public procurement law to stop the abuse of sole sourcing and other breaches. That's what is in page 6 of. And then this is what the president said during the 2026 State of Nation address. Quote, Mr. Speaker, we are bringing legislation to this House to tighten our procurement processes by banning sole source contracts except in exceptional circumstances.
Right.
That's what the president said in the State of Nation address.
Right. So Alfred, what I'm saying is that when I saw the first publication followed by a video documentary, my conclusion was that it was as if if you said sole sourcing was bad and you are found doing sole sourcing, then there's scandal of corruption. And I'm saying that is too simplistic, in my view. That conclusion is too simplistic. And when you look at the contextual comparison, listen to what they quoted in our manifesto, that we will enforce compliance with the public procurement law. In this case, what is the public procurement law? And that will stop the abuse of sole sourcing. We did not even say we will stop using sole sourcing. So if we are using sole sourcing sparingly, where is the scandal? So where is even the double standards if you do a contextual assessment? Because the promise was not to stop using sole sourcing. It was to stop abusing the use of sole sourcing. And so if you find us using sole sourcing, you have to point to an abuse before you can say that we have failed the promise. But if you don't point to the abuse, and we are saying that in this particular instance, we had over 80 projects, before us, and a content assessment or analysis of the processes that were used to award these contracts lead you to a conclusion that 44% was the only one that went for sole sourcing. That is stopping, the abuse of using sole source. When in the past, 100% was what was used for sole sourcing. If today you see 40% used for sole sourcing, that is stopping the abuse. And then you ask yourself, is the 40% does the 40% meet the essential circumstances?
44%?
44%. Okay. 44%. Does it meet the essential circumstances you promised you were going to use it for? That is where you can now have a conversation and say, look, you said that it was going to be exceptional circumstances. Now, we don't agree that even the 44% meets the exceptional circumstances. But at least you will acknowledge that the abuse has been reduced to some extent, from 100% to about 44%.
So your
so that you are having, in that case, Alfred, you will be having, a progressive conversation of how to improve things in this country. But when you just conclude that you heard sole sourcing in the past was bad, you are hearing sole sourcing now, and so therefore there is a scandal, it is so simplistic. And it amounts to an attempt to, forcefully bring about an equalization that doesn't exist, with all due respect. Clearly, we decided, and even in their own publications, they indicated that some of these projects were inherited. Now, those projects that were inherited were about 23, 24 projects.
Yes.
These projects, when they were awarded on sole source basis, did not have a dedicated fund for it. And so when we took over, almost all the contractors had vacated sites. But we found out that they were critical projects that needed to be completed. In some cases, some of the contractors had done work over 50% work on those projects. And so we didn't think that it was reasonable to allow those projects to rot and the people of Ghana's taxpayers, the taxes wasted. And after all, it is even an obligation on every government under the principles of state policy to continue with projects that it inherited. And so we decided that we were going to take them on board and then novate them with a big push, agenda. And so you have Fourth Estate, suggest that these projects were also new projects that were awarded, as if they wanted us, Alfred, to have terminated the projects. What sense does it make that you have a contractor on site who has done work to about 50%, but has abandoned the project because he has not been paid for the work that he has done? Then government finds new money, and government now comes to open advertisement up for that project that a contractor is on and has done 50% and hasn't been paid. What sense does that make? So they were simply asked to bring their projects, their contracts, so that we will update it to today's, currency, and award it under the big push agenda. And so they were not new projects that had to go through tendering. So you don't add. It is unjustifiable to add it to new projects that should have been competitively tendered. So if it is done sole source, it is that exceptional circumstance that we promise that we will use sole source, which is clearly under the law.
You see, and that
Okay, abusuya we and some a course so our political highway so a deputy minister of rules and highway and HSA or this broad details no at the breya and yeah as I'm to but I must say some of Japan cocoties are in some way at the MI a gossip politics TV so and click on the notification bell so there any updates be a dropping on so once able to me akabi madam say